July the 28th, 1944. 14:30 hours. Kummersdorf, Proving Ground, Germany. Oberengineer Hermann Schneider walked slowly around the captured British tank, his clipboard forgotten in his hand. The vehicle sat in the testing facility's examination bay, still bearing scorch marks from whatever action had disabled it in Normandy. At first glance, it appeared to be another American Sherman, the ubiquitous medium tank that German forces had been destroying with comfortable regularity since North Africa. But Schneider had been summoned specifically to examine this particular vehicle, and as he completed his inspection, he understood why. The gun was wrong, completely, impossibly wrong. Where a Sherman should have mounted the standard 75mm gun, adequate for infantry support, but ineffective against German heavy armor, this tank carried something else entirely. The barrel extending from the turret was noticeably longer, the bore visibly larger, the entire weapon system clearly not American in origin. Schneider had seen enough Allied equipment to recognize British ordnance, and this gun matched the profile of the 17-pounder anti-tank gun that German intelligence had been tracking. Someone had managed to fit Britain's most powerful anti-tank weapon into an American medium tank's turret. The engineering challenges that implied were substantial. The 17-pounder was an enormous weapon designed for towed carriage, not tank mounting. Getting it into the Sherman's turret should have been impossible, given weight, recoil, and space constraints. Yet here it was, installed and functional, captured after it had destroyed at least 2 German tanks, according to the intelligence report accompanying the vehicle. Schneider climbed onto the tank and dropped through the turret hatch. Inside, the modifications were even more impressive. The turret basket had been removed to accommodate the gun's breech mechanism. The recoil system had been completely redesigned. The radio equipment had been relocated. Every available cubic centimeter had been utilized to make the impossible fit work. It was brutally practical engineering. No elegance, just problem-solving focused entirely on getting maximum firepower into existing chassis. Schneider returned to ground level and found his assistant waiting with additional intelligence reports. He read them carefully, his concern growing with each page. This wasn't experimental vehicle or limited production prototype. British forces had deployed these modified Shermans, Fireflies, according to intercepted radio traffic, in substantial numbers during Normandy fighting. They were distributed throughout British armored units, typically 1 per troop, serving as heavy gun tanks, while standard Shermans provided numerical strength. And they were killing German tanks with disturbing effectiveness. Tigers destroyed at ranges exceeding 1,000 meters. Panthers knocked out with single shots to frontal armor. Even the new King Tigers weren't immune. Intelligence included unconfirmed report of King Tiger destroyed by Firefly, hit that penetrated its frontal plate. The 17-pounder's performance exceeded what German intelligence had estimated, and its installation in mobile, reliable Sherman chassis gave British forces capability that fundamentally altered armor combat's tactical calculus. If they can produce these in thousands, Schneider wrote in his report's conclusion, our armored advantage is finished. He paused, pen hovering over paper, considering whether such defeatist language was appropriate for official assessment. Then he continued writing. Recommendation: assume British forces will field Fireflies in increasing numbers. Adjust tactical doctrine accordingly. Note that our ability to counter this threat through superior design is limited by production constraints that favor Allied mass production over German technical excellence. He submitted the report, knowing it would be read by officers who wouldn't want to hear its conclusions, but who needed to understand what Germany faced. The Firefly wasn't just new weapon. It was evidence that Allied industrial capacity and practical engineering had overcome German technical sophistication. The problem that required solution. British armor forces had faced crisis of capability since encountering German heavy tanks in 1942, a crisis that threatened to make their numerical superiority irrelevant. The Tiger I, introduced in late 1942, outmatched any British tank in direct combat. Its 88mm gun could destroy British tanks at ranges exceeding 2,000 meters, while British tank guns struggled to penetrate Tiger armor even at close range. British tankers developed tactics to compensate: flanking attacks, close assaults, targeting tracks, and vision ports. But these tactics required accepting casualties that were strategically unsustainable. A single Tiger could disable multiple British tanks before being destroyed, creating exchange ratios that favored German forces despite their numerical inferiority. The Panther, deployed in 1943, was even more troubling. It combined Tiger-level armor and firepower with superior mobility and more reliable mechanics. The Panther's frontal armor was effectively immune to British tank guns at normal combat ranges. Its 75mm gun could penetrate British tanks easily while remaining invulnerable to return fire. German forces deploying Panthers achieved tactical dominance that British armor couldn't effectively counter through existing equipment. British tank crews understood the problem viscerally. Their Cromwells and Churchills and American-supplied Shermans were adequate against German medium tanks and excellent for infantry support. But they were death traps against German heavy armor. Crews learned to recognize Tigers and Panthers by silhouette and sound, to avoid engagement when possible, to call for artillery or air support rather than attempting direct combat. This was rational tactical response to inadequate equipment, but it was psychologically devastating and strategically limiting. The British Army's leadership recognized that maintaining morale and effectiveness required providing tank crews with weapons that could engage German heavy armor with reasonable chance of success. But developing entirely new tank would require years and would strain British industrial capacity that was already fully committed to existing production programs. The solution needed to be faster and more economical than designing new vehicle from scratch. Britain's 17-pounder anti-tank gun, developed in 1942, offered potential solution. The weapon fired projectiles capable of penetrating Tiger and Panther armor at combat ranges, giving British forces firepower that could engage German heavy tanks effectively. But the 17-pounder was towed weapon, requiring dedicated crew and lacking the mobility and protection that tank-mounted weapons provided. Infantry anti-tank units equipped with 17-pounders were effective, but couldn't provide the mobile, armored fire support that armored formations required. The obvious solution was mounting the 17-pounder in a tank turret, creating mobile, protected platform for weapon that could engage German heavy armor. But the 17-pounder was large and heavy weapon with substantial recoil, designed for ground mounting rather than vehicle installation. British tank designers had attempted to create purpose-built tank mounting 17-pounder, the Challenger, but the design process was slow and production was limited. By 1943, it was clear that Challenger production wouldn't provide adequate numbers to address the capability gap British armor forces faced. Major George Brighty's adaptation of the Sherman to mount the 17-pounder represented triumph of practical engineering over theoretical impossibility. The first prototype was completed in late 1943 and underwent testing that revealed numerous issues requiring correction. The turret traverse mechanism needed strengthening. The gun mounting required adjustment to prevent binding during recoil. The ammunition storage needed modification to prevent rounds from shifting during movement. Each problem was identified, analyzed, and solved through iterative testing and modification. By early 1944, the design was sufficiently mature for production to begin. First contact. German forces encountered Fireflies during Normandy fighting without initially recognizing what they represented or understanding their significance. The early encounters were confused. German tank commanders reported Sherman kills that seemed unusual, penetrations at longer ranges than standard Sherman guns should achieve, damage patterns consistent with larger caliber hits. Intelligence officers noted these reports but initially attributed them to various explanations: lucky hits, specialized American ammunition, or misidentification of actual weapons involved. The pattern didn't immediately coalesce into recognition that British forces had deployed fundamentally new weapon system. Then came encounters where German tanks were destroyed at ranges and angles that standard Sherman guns couldn't achieve. Panthers knocked out frontally at over 1,000 meters. Tigers destroyed with single penetrating hits rather than requiring multiple strikes to vital areas. The reports accumulated until denial became impossible. British armor had acquired significantly improved anti-tank capability, and that capability was tank-mounted rather than coming from towed guns or tank destroyers. German tactical response adapted quickly once the threat was recognized. Standing orders were issued to identify and prioritize Fireflies, which could be distinguished by their longer gun barrels. Tank commanders were instructed to engage the long-barreled Shermans first, before they could employ their superior guns. Artillery and anti-tank units were directed to target Fireflies preferentially. The adaptations reflected professional military response to new threat, but they also reflected concern that German tactical advantages were eroding. British tactical employment of Fireflies evolved through combat experience. Initial doctrine dispersed them through armored troops, typically one Firefly per 4 standard Shermans. This provided heavy gun capability throughout formation while maintaining numerical strength in standard tanks. Fireflies were employed as ambush weapons when possible, positioned to deliver first shot from concealment, exploiting their superior range and penetration before German armor could respond. The tactical pattern that emerged played to Firefly's strengths while minimizing its weaknesses. Standard Shermans would maneuver to present targets and draw fire, while Fireflies engaged from hull-down positions or flanking angles. The 17-pounder's superior range meant Fireflies could engage German tanks before German guns could effectively return fire, creating temporal advantage that often proved decisive. When German forces identified and targeted Fireflies, standard Shermans could exploit the distraction. The tactics weren't sophisticated, but they were effective, and they worked because Firefly provided capability that fundamentally changed engagement geometry. The technical assessment. German engineers' examination of captured Firefly revealed exactly how British forces had achieved their unexpected capability upgrade and why that achievement was strategically significant. The 17-pounder's ballistic performance exceeded German expectations. Muzzle velocity approached 900 meters per second with armor-piercing ammunition, comparing favorably to the Tiger's 88mm gun and exceeding most other German tank weapons. The armor penetration at combat ranges was formidable. The gun could reliably penetrate 150 millimeters of armor at 1,000 meters, sufficient to defeat Tiger frontal armor and penetrate Panther armor at favorable angles. The ammunition was well designed, employing armor-piercing capped rounds that combined penetration with post-penetration effectiveness. The British had clearly prioritized anti-armor capability over high-explosive performance, accepting that Fireflies would be less effective in infantry support role than standard Shermans, but would provide essential anti-tank capability that British forces otherwise lacked. The gun installation, while crude by German engineering standards, was entirely functional. The British had accepted numerous compromises: no turret basket, awkward crew positions, reduced ammunition storage, but these compromises achieved their objective of getting effective anti-tank gun into reliable, mobile platform. German engineers recognized that this was entirely rational engineering decision. Accept compromises in comfort and convenience to achieve essential capability upgrade within constraints of time and resources. The strategic implications were what truly concerned German analysts. The Firefly demonstrated that Allied forces could upgrade existing equipment to match or exceed German capabilities without requiring years-long development programs for entirely new vehicles. The combination of American production capacity, providing Sherman chassis, with British firepower expertise, providing upgraded armament, created weapon system that could be produced in numbers that German industry couldn't approach while matching German tanks' combat effectiveness. More troubling was recognition that this approach was sustainable and expandable. If British forces could successfully integrate 17-pounder into Sherman turret, they could potentially apply similar approaches to other equipment upgrades. The methodology: take reliable, mass-produced platform and upgrade its most critical capability through sophisticated but achievable engineering, could be repeated across various weapon systems. German technological advantages could be systematically negated through Allied industrial capacity combined with competent engineering. The mathematical reality was stark. Germany was producing approximately 1 Tiger or Panther for every 10 Shermans that American and British factories produced. That numerical disadvantage had been acceptable when individual German tanks were so superior that they could engage multiple Allied tanks successfully. But if 1 in 5 Allied tanks now carried gun that could destroy German heavy armor reliably, the exchange ratios shifted dramatically. German forces would still win some engagements through superior tactics or favorable circumstances, but sustainable attrition mathematics favored allies who could replace losses while gradually accumulating numerical superiority. The industrial equation. The Firefly's significance extended beyond its tactical capabilities to demonstrate Allied industrial advantages that German production couldn't counter. British production of Fireflies reached approximately 2,000 units by war's end, produced through conversion of standard Shermans at rate that supplied British armoured formations adequately. The conversion process, while complex, was manageable within British industrial capacity. More importantly, it didn't require building entirely new vehicles. It upgraded existing platforms that American factories were producing in enormous numbers. This production approach was fundamentally different from German methodology. Germany designed and built specialized vehicles for specific roles, creating technically sophisticated equipment that required dedicated production facilities and substantial resources per unit. The Tiger and Panther were excellent tanks, but producing them required industrial capacity that could have produced multiple medium tanks or enormous quantities of other military equipment. German armor production was always constrained by industrial limitations and resource scarcity. The Allied approach of producing large numbers of adequate platforms and selectively upgrading some for specialized roles was more economically efficient. Standard Shermans handled most armor requirements adequately and could be produced in vast numbers. Fireflies provided heavy anti-tank capability where needed without requiring entirely separate production program. The methodology leveraged American mass production capability while applying British technical expertise where it provided maximum benefit. German engineers and industrial planners recognized this strategic disadvantage but couldn't effectively counter it. Germany lacked industrial capacity to match Allied production volumes. German response, building technically superior individual vehicles, was rational given resource constraints, but couldn't overcome Allied advantages in quantity and production flexibility. The Firefly demonstrated that Allies could upgrade their equipment to match German technical standards while maintaining production advantages that Germany couldn't challenge. The broader lesson concerned sustainable warfare economics. Germany had entered war with technological advantages in several areas, including armor. But sustaining those advantages required continuous development and production of increasingly sophisticated equipment, consuming resources while failing to prevent Allied forces from gradually matching German capabilities through combination of industrial capacity and competent engineering. The Firefly was a single example of pattern that extended across multiple weapon systems and threatened to systematically erode German military advantages. The strategic recognition. German military leadership's assessment of Firefly and broader Allied equipment improvements contributed to growing recognition that victory was no longer achievable through military means. Intelligence summaries from Normandy campaign documented that Allied armor forces had overcome their previous disadvantages in tank versus tank combat. British and American forces now fielded equipment capable of engaging German armor effectively, eliminating tactical advantages that German forces had relied upon. Combined with Allied superiority in artillery, air power, and logistics, the improved armor capability meant German forces faced opponents who were superior or equal in virtually every category of military capability. The strategic calculations were straightforward. Germany was simultaneously fighting Soviet Union in the East and Western Allies in France and Italy. German forces were outnumbered on all fronts, facing enemies whose industrial capacity vastly exceeded German production. Previously, German forces had compensated through tactical excellence and technical superiority in key weapon systems. But as Allied equipment improved and Allied tactics adapted, those compensating advantages eroded. The Firefly specifically undermined German armor doctrine, which had assumed that qualitative superiority in tanks could offset numerical inferiority. If British armor forces could now engage German heavy tanks effectively using upgraded but still mass-produced Shermans, then German armor advantages were insufficient to matter strategically. German forces would still win some tactical engagements through superior tactics or favorable circumstances, but sustainable attrition mathematics favored allies who could replace losses while gradually accumulating overwhelming material superiority. Senior German officers understood these calculations even when political leadership refused to acknowledge them. Operational planning increasingly focused on delaying defeat rather than achieving victory, on trading space for time while hoping for political developments that might enable negotiated settlement. The military situation was clearly deteriorating, with Allied material advantages growing as German resources dwindled. Equipment improvements like Firefly were symptoms of broader problem. Allied industrial capacity and technical competence were systematically overcoming German advantages. The final assessment. Hermann Schneider's report on the captured Firefly accurately identified its significance, but his conclusions were ignored by leadership that couldn't accept their implications. The technical assessment was precise. British forces had successfully integrated effective anti-tank gun into mass-produced platform, creating weapon system that negated German armor advantages while being producible in quantities that German industry couldn't match. The tactical implications were clear. German armor forces would face opponents capable of engaging them effectively, eliminating tactical superiority that had compensated for numerical inferiority. The strategic conclusion was unavoidable. Combined with Allied advantages in production, air power, and resources, the improved equipment meant German military defeat was inevitable, absent political developments that changed war's fundamental parameters. But political leadership couldn't acknowledge defeat's inevitability without admitting that years of war and sacrifice had been wasted, that continuation meant only prolonging inevitable loss. Military leadership recognized reality, but lacked political authority to act on that recognition. The war continued for 9 months after Normandy, consuming resources and lives to delay outcome that was already determined by mathematics of industrial warfare and strategic situation that couldn't be overcome through tactical excellence or technical sophistication. The Firefly's role in this calculation was modest but symbolic. It wasn't weapon that defeated Germany. That defeat resulted from combined effects of Allied industrial capacity, military competence, and German strategic overextension. But it represented type of challenge that German forces increasingly faced. Competent Allied equipment deployed in overwhelming numbers, eroding tactical advantages that German forces had relied upon, demonstrating that Allied industrial might could overcome German technical sophistication through combination of adequate design and superior production capacity. Schneider's assessment ended in archives, read by officers who understood its implications but couldn't act on them. The Firefly continued service through war's end, destroying German tanks and supporting British armor operations. After war, it was quickly retired. Its role as emergency solution had been fulfilled, and purpose-built tank destroyers and improved tank designs rendered its compromises unnecessary. But for critical period from Normandy through Germany's final defeat, it provided capability that British forces desperately needed, proving that sometimes adequate solution available immediately serves better than superior solution arriving too late to matter.